Hello and welcome. I'm Clueless Mike and you're watching Modelling for Advantage. Okay, so Combat Patrol Tyranids. Let's see what we have in the box. So, as usual, lovely rulebook, lovely instruction booklet, colour-coded, Games Workshop instructions, best in the business in my humble opinion. That's what we've got. Next up, we have some lovely models. Bases. Pretty self-explanatory. We've got a single sprue here. So it's interesting, I don't play Tyranids and don't have a massive experience in modelling with them, so it's quite tricky. I'm trying to identify some of the models, because Tyranids is a great range of models. I'm a big fan, because they're all really interesting in different looking shapes and sizes and such, but they've also got a really strong design theme running through the whole range, where everything has similar armour plates, similar heads, similar weapon kind of like parts, but they all kind of like manage to look really different when they're fully assembled, which is something I really like. So I'm going to have to take all of these out and then attempt to identify them. Okay, so let's see what we've got. We've got a couple of double sprues. What I like to always do first is identify where we've got identical models. So in here there should be a set of 10 gene stealers, which is what I'm looking for first. And it looks like they are not identical models, because on this particular sprue here, you may not be able to see it brilliantly against the background of other sprues. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different gene stealer bodies on this one set here. So that is 1, 2, 3 sprues to make up the gene stealers. You get loads of different arms. Gene stealers have 4 arms each. You get, I suspect, just enough legs, and I suspect you have to pair up the legs as well. Could be wrong there, to make certain running poses between them. You get nice selection of heads, my favourite being what is known as the Yumgal gene stealers, which are basically these weird Cthulhu tentacle heads, which look really cool. And then there's lots of other different ones on there as well. This is a kit that was updated, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think possibly when the Gene Stealer Colts came out, or around then. Really decent looking Gene Stealers, much better poses than the kind of like original ones, which are all very similar. So, great models. Rules wise, they're actually pretty useful in game. They're fast, they can get up the field early, and they're not deadly in combat. I mean, I'm an old school Space Hulk player where a Gene Stealer versus a Terminator, your money was on the Gene Stealer in combat. They're not quite that deadly anymore, but they can certainly do a job. They'll mop up a squad of 5 scouts or similar quite happily. So pretty decent. Next up, let's try and identify stuff. So this one here, little single character sprue, is the Parasite of Mortrex. It sounds like it's a unique character, but it's not. That's just the name given to it. A lot of the Tyranid naming schemes are whoever first encountered it or where it was first encountered. So this thing was a parasitical creature that was first encountered on Mortrex in the Imperial naming scheme. It's pretty cool. It's got loads of interesting rules. It can do lots and lots of kind of like mucking with the enemy. It's quite fast, it's okay in combat, it's synapse, which is useful in a Tyranid army. As far as the Combat Patrol box goes, you can have multiple of these in your army, so buying multiple of the Combat Patrol, you actually get multiple of these, which can be quite useful. Whether you'd want multiple, I'm not sure, I can't remember the exact rules on whether they would complement each other having lots, but you can actually use them. Doesn't look like there's any modelling options on sprue at all. It looks like there is just a single head there, and if you're not getting multiple head options, you're certainly not getting multiple of any other options. So he's there, cool model though. Next up, let's see what else we can identify. We've got this great big honking sprue here, and this one here I believe goes with it. So the Combat Patrol, I'm not overly kind of like knowledgeable about Combat Patrol itself, the gameplay format, but I believe the picture on the front of the box, ta-da, is the models how you should build them to use them in Combat Patrol. So you get these models in the kit. If there's an alternative build option, you can't use that alternative build option in Combat Patrol. You have to build them as they are. But in terms of standard 40k, you can obviously build whichever you prefer. So this sprue is the Tyrant Guard that are in the Combat Patrol, but it can also be built as, I believe, the, what are they called? Hive Guard. Hive Guard are much more useful than Tyrant Guard. Tyrant Guard are 3 reasonably burly Tyranid kind of warrior type units. Okay in close combat, pretty slow. Their only use really is that they can be joined by a Hive Tyrant and thus give him extra ablative wounds. Whereas the Hive Guard have 2 decent guns. One can fire out of line of sight and the other is kind of like haywire shot, so really good versus vehicles. If you're buying this box, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to build yourself some Hive Guard because you're not really guarding your Hive Tyrants particularly with these. Model-wise, they've got reasonable options. They've got big crushing claws. They've got the multiple weapons for the Hive Guard. One good thing you do is, because a lot of the Tyranid kits are multi-kits, you'll have loads of spare bits at the end. And with a bit of creativity, you can bash together your own Tyranid monsters if you like. I've got a Blood Bowl team that I made out of Tyranid spare models and spare parts and such. Lastly is the Biovore, which can also be built as a Pyrovore. So Biovore is an artillery beast, fires a long-range shot that drops a... wherever they are, they should be here on the sprue somewhere. These cool babies here, spore mines, which then explode when enemies come near them, and they have a few other effects. The Pyrovore is a cheap, reasonably tough for its very low cost unit with a pretty deadly heavy flamer on it. Quite useful, but more or less every Tyranid army that's ever been made in 10th edition has a single Biovore in it. They are that useful. You don't use them for killing anything, you use them for mission play purposes. In standard 40k, there are lots of missions which require you to have a model in a certain area. Behind enemy lines, for instance, is have 2 units behind the setup zone of your opponent. When you make spore mines, they have an OC of 0, so they can't do actions and they can't hold objectives. But they are still models, and they still count as being in places. So if you need to have a model in a corner somewhere, you can just fire it there with your Biovore, it arrives, you score your point. Also, they are models in your army, so enemies can't appear within 9 inches of them. So really useful. For the low cost, having the ability to place a model somewhere on the table every turn is so good for tactical play. So you will want at least one of these in your army. And that is the end of the Combat Patrol. Some pretty good units in there, actually. If I were starting a Tyranid army, this isn't a bad set to buy. You'll probably use the Hive Guard, you'll definitely use the Biovore, and you're likely to use the Gene Stealers. The Parasite of Mortrex, I suspect he's kind of like points dependent on how useful he is, but could well be useful. Plus, he's a pretty sweet model. Thanks for watching, everybody.
If you're still here and you're looking for ways to support the channel, there's obviously a lot of ways down in the description, but a key way is to use our affiliate links to Whaling Games and others. You buy your models from them, it doesn't cost you a penny more, and we earn a little bit of commission. Thank you.